making a wee video, talk about some of the upcoming changes to how content's going to be made here, alright? Anyone that watches the channel on a regular basis will know, well, there hasn't been any content this week. This is the first video and it's going up on Wednesday. And there is a reason, quite a simple reason to be honest. For a little bit now, something is just not right. Doesn't feel quite right about the content. And I wouldn't be surprised if anyone watching knows that or could feel that through it, if you know what I mean. You know, for the past couple of weeks in content, you know, I've been saying that, you know, the content has been lackluster or less favourable words because I've been really busy lately. And that is true, but at the same time, I think it's more than that. I think it's more to do with the fact that the content I'm making for ZeusWeusFilm isn't being, like, I'm not making it the way that that I originally wanted to make it. Like, it doesn't feel right, something's off, something feels lackluster. Out of all the series on the channel, there's a couple that I'm like, no, they are exactly the way I would like them to be. Haunter Files, which is obviously the first season's finished, is a big one. Haunter Files, you know, those 6 episodes, it turned out exactly how I wanted it to. That is, I'm really proud of Haunter Files and what me, Thomas and Michael were able to make with that, and we are going to be starting working on the 2nd season and a wee bonus pretty soon, right? So Haunter Files is fine. The other series, those are the ones I'm like, something's not right. So I'll go through them and talk individually about which ones I just don't feel right. ZeusWeusFilm School's the main one. I hope the tutorials I've made so far are useful, but every one so far doesn't feel good. Like, it feels like it's been made because I need to make a video on a Monday, and that's the series I promised on a Monday. And, you know, I'm trying to make a tutorial, and usually it's just something simple slapped together, which might work for YouTube, you know, quick tutorials. I know when I'm looking for a tutorial, I want something quick and concise, but the ones I'm making aren't really too quick and concise, and they're not really that in-depth or useful either. It's almost like it's pointless, if you know what I mean. And that's not what I wanted ZeusWeusFilm School to be. ZeusWeusFilm School originally, back when the channel started, which isn't actually that long ago when I started making regular content, it was meant to be more personalised, something that you can only maybe get this input from ZeusWeusFilm. The one I've been talking about for a long time. How to film your first wedding video by yourself, for example, or things that I've actually done. Sitting down and properly explaining to the camera. This is some tips about how you go about doing that if you've never done it. Something a bit more in-depth and personalised. That's what I wanted it to be. But it hasn't been that. It and Beyond Film, Monday and Tuesday's videos, the whole goal with those 2 videos is, yeah, they're not the biggest parts of the content, you know, the beefier stuff comes later in the week, but those were the 2 series that I wanted to keep going because, you know, I want people who watch any content on ZeusWeusFilm to feel like you've gotten a value from that, whether that be you've been entertained or you've learned something. ZeusWeusFilm School and Beyond Film were supposed to be the 2nd part. You've learned something, but they haven't really been that, because Beyond Film was supposed to just be any wee self-help tips that I can come up with that I think would be useful to know, passing it along to you. And it's not been too bad at that, but even it's suffered from being lackluster and, you know, lacking any real depth, the same way ZeusWeusFilm School has, and I don't really like that. And then we talk about, yeah, it's basically just became, you know, like a film review, which that wasn't really what I wanted it to be either. You know, over the past 9 weeks, it's kind of like developed into a, so we explain the story, talk about some behind the scenes stuff, talk about some other things, move on. But that really wasn't what I wanted it to be either. It was more like a wee talk about a certain aspect of it. A perfect example of what I mean is, and I'm just pulling this film out of a hat, M. Night Shyamalan's Old, right? If I was to make a wee talk about in that, which I'm going to down the line, me and Michael have been going through all the Shyamalan films, what we'd probably do is talk about the story, talk about maybe some behind the scenes stuff, and then we're done. But the original idea I had for a wee talk about is, I wanted to like talk about and explore like the idea of something, like in that film, like the whole idea, how interesting it is that they're on this beach and, you know, they're getting older by the second rapidly, like not just be a straight movie review, but be something like almost like I'm discussing that. It's really hard to put into words. My point is, those first 3 series, This Was Film School, Beyond Film, and we talk about, I wanted them to be grander than they are. I want them to be more worthwhile and fruitful than they are. I've even toyed with, should some of them exist at all? You know, if the whole point is This Was Film, the main thing I love doing is making films and making the stuff like Hunter Files. Should I even be putting time into those other series, or should I just be putting all my time into those other things? But, you know, Beyond Film and This Was Film School, I want to make that because I want to give some kind of value to anyone that watches. I want you to be able to learn something. And I enjoy talking about these things, and I think it would be wise to put that into I enjoy making YouTube content as well. I have done since I was like 14, so I may as well continue that while also building This Was Film. This would actually be a good topic for a Beyond Film, about, you know, doubting yourself and losing track of your goals. And then, like I said, Hunter Files, couldn't be happier with it. The other series I've started, What If X Film was set in Northern Ireland. That idea was born out of one skit idea, which I haven't even done yet. It's not even been filmed yet. We started with other films. It's another series where I'm like, I'm not sure if this is the original idea I had for it. And then the podcast is, I love the podcast. I just think, obviously, you know, I probably need to put down a better structure to it, include more film related topics in there, and just have it flow better, which is completely on me. But the main point in this video is pretty much to explain why there hasn't been any videos this week. But it's not like videos are going to stop. Next week, all being well, unless something awful happens, we'll be back to making daily 5 videos a week content, right? And next week will actually be the 10th week. This would have been the 10th week, but next week will be the 10th podcast, the 10th whatever, you know. It'll be the 10th video in each series. So we're going back to that next week. I just think that it was wise this week to take a break, to sort of stand back and think, okay, what's not working about what, you know, I'm doing here? What could be done better and what could be improved? And, you know, it's going to take me a few days to figure out the series side of things. You know, what can I fix with the series? What should they really be? But I'll fix that, and hopefully this time next week you'll be able to see the changes that have been made and the improvements that came with that. But there's other changes that need to be made as well, you know. I think there's a lot of things I could be doing to help boost This Was Film. You know, the fact that the channel has no shorts yet is a disaster. You know, I could be turning a lot of this content into shorts to help, you know, attract a bigger audience. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in the Teespring store and the Patreon, and a lot of external things that I just want to improve about This Was Film, and that's what I'm dedicating this week to. Locking myself in my room and fixing these things, figuring it all out. But I did want to let you know why there was no content, instead of just, you know, off for a week and then everyone's like, what happened? So I hope you understand. I hope you are excited to see the content coming later on. Do have some pretty big plans coming. And yeah, I just really want to improve ZeusWeusFilm for anyone watching, and for myself, because I believe in this. This is what I want to do. So it's only going to get better if I do it better. See you guys next week.